Aokigahara Forest, also referred to as Sea of Trees, and unofficially, as Japan's Suicide Forest, is a very beautiful site that surrounds the base of Mount Fuji, which is Japan's tallest mountain. The forest itself is said to be so dense, that sunlight is barely able to shine through, and wind itself cannot pass through the trees, making the forest dark, quiet, still, and eerie. Some people say that compasses do not work in the forest, which could either be paranormal, or the iron deposits beneath the volcanic rock, which makes up for most of the forested flooring, which is cause for all the misshapen trees, with roots sprouting over the surface, and raised vegetation, in a lot of the areas. Signs are posted at entrances and along paths that urge suicidal visitors to think of what they are doing, to think of their families, and to call for help, with suicide prevention information posted on the sign as well. As a person would hike through this forest, they would occasionally come across ribbons on their path, which were placed there by the poor souls that are considering taking their own lives, so that a trail is made to their bodies so that they can be found, and their families can be notified. Many hikers come across many paths with ribbons on a single hike. Sadly, after all, hundreds of bodies are found every year in the Aokigahara Forest. Let's get to the story. This is a story from 1982, about a 26-year-old Japanese man named Hideyoshi, from Kyoto, Japan. Hideyoshi was a man of curiosity and adventure, who found a real obsessive interest in researching the supernatural, and disproving its existence, and has recently taken an interest in the stories of Aokigahara Forest, which was not only full of natural beauty, but was also said to be the home of many Yurei. Yurei are spirits that died of a sudden or violent way, such as murder, or suicide, and when that happens to a spirit that's harboring strong emotions, such as hate, anger, jealousy, sadness, or a desire for revenge, the spirits get turned into a Yurei. Oh, side note, Yurei are not always evil. Hideyoshi had vacation time coming up, and planned a solo hiking and camping research trip in the Aokigahara Forest. He wanted to try and catch some evidence of the paranormal, or lack thereof, on his camcorder. Or maybe some disembodied voices on his tape recorder, because that was a common occurrence, so they say. Either way, he came equipped with a variety of tests, so that should he find something, he could record his debunking methods to help prove, or disprove, any findings. When Hideyoshi arrived at Aokigahara Forest, he was excited to start his research into the infamous Sea of Trees, in hopes of disproving the paranormal claims that come out of the forest. As he made his way down the path, he starts to notice the suicide prevention signs posted up along the path, and a chill shoots straight down his spine, as if the realization of him standing right where he was, is exactly where a suicidal visitor was standing, and chose not to listen to the advice of the sign. Hideyoshi continues down the path, shaking off that eerie feeling that seemed to catch him completely off guard. For the most part the walk is peaceful, but he had the overwhelming feeling that someone was following him, but writes it off as wildlife and continues till he finds a soft, small clearing to set up camp. He sets up his tent and lights up his lantern just outside his tent, and hangs it onto a tree branch that is 2 feet from his tent, and begins to string empty aluminum cans together, to place in a variety of places around his camp as noise traps, should someone, or something get close. He then prepares his camcorder to film the area before the sun goes completely down. He then begins to ask questions like, is somebody here with me? Knock on a tree if you can hear my voice, show yourself or talk to me. He would ask repeatedly to get a response from any spirits that may be in the area, but gets no response. He then decides he is going to get more aggressive, and start provoking the spirits with insults, and threats, and daring them to grab him, or scratch him, to prove to him that they are real, and that they are there, but still no response. He finishes with the camcorder and turns it off, and begins to walk back to his tent, which is only 20 feet away, when he hears one of his noise traps start going off as if something was stuck in it. He turns the camcorder back on and runs over to the trap, but nothing is there, and the trap wasn't even moving. It was just still as if it hadn't moved at all. A little freaked out by it, he begins to walk around the trees it's tied to find an explanation. It had to be a squirrel, he thought, but how do you explain the trap not even giving a little sway? After that loud, and that long of a rattle to the trap, so he plays with the noise trap and tries various things to explain the trap just stopping completely like that, only to have no answer. Hideyoshi was genuinely shaken up. he walks back to his tent and pulls out his tape recorder, and sits at the mouth of his tent half in, and half out, with his lantern behind him and the tent giving off enough of a glow to illuminate the front of the tent, so that he can see the buttons on his tape recorder, and push to record himself talking to whoever or whatever is in the area. Hideyoshi begins to ask questions with the tape recorder recording, and hears no replies back. After 20 minutes of questions, he stops the recording, rewinds it, and plays it back, hearing no answers to any of his questions until about 10 minutes into the recording, when he asks, "Does anyone want to hurt me?" He hears, "I wasn't supposed to die," and he quickly stops the audio and stares at the tape recorder in complete silence. Stunned in pure shock, that the very thing he came to disprove was actually proven to be real, not sure how he should react, he stares out into the darkened forest, to see what looks like a shadowy figure staring right back at him from behind a tree, and his body goes numb, with sweat starting to run slowly down his forehead, his mouth goes dry, when suddenly a noise trap starts rattling behind him. He quickly stands up and turns, and sees nothing. Then another trap begins going off along with the other one. Hideyoshi dives into his tent, frantically searching through his backpack for his flashlight, then finds it and swings as fast as can outside his tent, flashing the light in all directions the sounds are coming from, hoping to see a group of people possibly messing with him, or animals that got caught, anything that could be logically explained, but nothing was there. He didn't know what he should do. Should he stay? And get more research? But if he stays, what will the spirits do to him? Can they do anything to him? Or should he run? If he runs, will he run into more spirits? What if he runs into something more dangerous? Stay? Or go? He decides to stay. After everything finally calms down, Hideyoshi wants to start documenting everything he possibly could in his journal and on video, no matter how scared he was at the moment. He needed this research because it could change everything. Maybe it can even help stop people from coming here to commit suicides, because they will know the misery that awaits them. It doesn't take long from his decision to stay that things start back up again. As he is writing details in his journal in his tent, he starts hearing what sounds like little pebbles and twigs being thrown at the walls of his tent. Shakily he reaches for his camcorder and starts recording. However, he is aware that he needs to get video of the outside to show proof that it isn't a hoax. So he readily unzips the tin and quickly flashes his light in the directions the pebbles and twigs were coming from. To no surprise, nothing was there, and this was perfect. He had evidence, but he needed more. He opens his tin and points the camcorder in the direction he saw the shadowy figure, hoping it would show itself again. After 5 minutes of waiting, he begins to shout at the spirits to show themselves. And their response? Was a rock thrown at his left eye, giving him a black eye in the process. This incident rightfully scares Hideyoshi, as now he knows they can physically hurt him, so he jumps into his tent and begins to rock back and forth with fear, now believing he has to leave. There is no other choice. At this point, all the while he is planning out his run, his tent starts to violently shake. As he is holding his black eye, he begins to shout, "Leave me alone!" But the tent continues to shake. He packs up his gear as fast as he can, camera in one hand recording, flashlight in the other hand. He unzips his tent and, abandoning his tent and sleeping bag, he makes a run for it. Holding the camera forward as he runs, he swears he feels little arms reaching for him from behind the trees as he runs and runs, and about a mile out from the exit, he trips on a tree root, dropping his flashlight 5 feet away from him. He goes to grab it, then looks up to see the face of a pale, sad, short, black-haired woman. He screams in horror as he jumps back and crawls backward to get away from her. Backing into a tree and using his weight against the tree, he shimmies his way back up to his feet, and starts to run again as fast as he can, passing by the suicide prevention signs that sent shivers down his spine earlier. Suddenly gave him the opposite feeling, knowing he was closer to the exit. He was able to see an opening in the path that led to the parking lot. As he cleared the forest just outside the entrance line, he turns around to look, and sees that same shadowy figure looking straight at him from behind a tree. Hideyoshi points his already recording camera right at it for 10 seconds, then turns around and gets in his car, and drives to the closest hotel. Inside the hotel, Hideyoshi is well aware he will need to go back into that forest to retrieve his tent and sleeping bag, which begins to give him anxiety, as he walks to the bathroom and runs cold water on a rag to put on his swollen eye, then sits down on the bed to look at the footage he got from this nightmare of a night. he hits play after rewinding the tape, and to his surprise, all the video was nothing but static with muffled sound in the background, as if something distorted the video evidence. Hideyoshi could do nothing but laugh, frustrated and in pain. He sat there, and laughed. He went to check on the tape from the tape recording of the spirit talking from earlier, only to find it was all erased. Hideyoshi had nothing to bring back other than his journal, a black eye, and a memory of the most traumatic night of his life. He decided to leave his tent and sleeping bag in the forest, and chose to never go back. Thank you for watching, bye!